This painting is really going to be, I hope, fun for you. It's, again, not meant to be a realistic or even overly representational piece. It's meant to be more abstract. A good bit of it will be improvisational as we allow that medium to do its thing, to become expressive on the paper. It'll do things that maybe we'll react to, things that we like to, or maybe we want to add to or modify in a certain way. And that's what we'll be able to do in this painting. Ultimately, the thing that you're trying to do here is build a design, and that design is based on this value arrangement. I'm getting that into the background. The one thing I want to do with this initial wash is, first of all, to make sure it's light. So that means I need a lot of water. These flowers back here are kind of orange, so I'm going to, initially anyway, paint around them. And I'm sort of painting them around them. This flower is white. We want this to stay a very light passage here. Again, the big brush, you might think, oh, you know, you're painting over some of those pencil lines, and I didn't expect that. I do have some highlights down here. I'll leave some white paper for that. This is their pink flower. That's a pink flower. Not that they need to be. Again, we get some real leeway in an abstracted piece. We get a chance to do things different, very different actually, than what our subject actually looks like. Mixing it a little bit, but again, that's a pink flower there, and I'm just kind of making marks to block it in. This flower here. Now I am going to be careful about this edge because I want that white flower, that bit of white flower that's poking out there to the left. I want that to be pretty clear and pretty obvious. It's really a yellow. And when you mix it with reds, it becomes an orange. And again, up here, I'm trying to get some of those edges. There's a white flower down here. I want to be careful about the spiky, pointy petals that are on that. So I'm working carefully there. Notice I'm using the side of my 1-inch brush. That'll give me some rougher edges where there's no water or paint on the paper. Some spiky edges. I do want to blend it into that background. And it's going to allow me to start getting some of these darker values in. It goes back in here principally, and again I can work up to these edges of these two white flowers right there, right there. Go down to where this edge sort of ends. That's that background area. I'm going to drop that in here. This is where we've got stems and leaves. And again, I'm going to follow that contour and kind of work around these edges that I did draw. And again, I'm going to be careful to work around this white flower. I do have a little bit of that lighter initial layer inside the contours of that flower shape, but it's okay. There's some more dark value over here. Some of it would be greenery, so I'm going to get that in. This thick color, these thick mixtures are really great because they mix and move just slightly at the edges. More of the cerulean. This time I think I'm going to get it in with some of the yellow, and I'm going to get that up here on this part of the background. This is supposed to be dark as well, but maybe not quite as dark. I'm going to let it be a little bit lighter. I want to get some darker value, not quite as dark, but darker value in here to get some of that green mixture. And I'm going to put that right in here. This is where it shows up in the value arrangement. A little bit there, a little bit down here. It sort of gives us an idea that there's the stems and leaves that are down under the surface of the water. We're seeing those. Some of that under the edge, maybe a little bit down in here showing in this area. Every dark that I put around this white flower actually helps us see that flower a little bit, pull it out of the background. Dark edge there and the shadows that come forward and pull this forward. And I go back in here and just add that in. And again, kind of get a rough edge around those light flowers there. But really, the idea here is to bring out that shape, maybe some indications of those individual petals that we can see. Red-violet color off the palette. That's what I'm going to use to shade this one. There's some white bits here that I don't really want, so I'm going to layer over those. Back in to show the shadier parts of this flower. Maybe some indications of individual petals. I'm going to get that same shadier hue, get it onto this flower. Maybe even some bluer violet right here in the middle, just for a change. See and get a little indication of the actual shapes of those flowers, the form, and we do that actually by showing and creating a sense of light and shadow, and that's really how form is created. Again, keeping it light. Kind of a green gold, and that's what I'm going to use for the center of that flower. A little bit of cerulean dropped in there just for some variety, for a little bit of fun. And just an indication, I didn't even make the whole ring, just an indication that we're seeing some of it there. This one, a little bit in this one. Something that's a contrast to what we actually see for some of the darker indications in the center of this flower here. And that's what I'm going to put in there. And I'm going to make marks that give us a little indication of the circular shape of that object, the roundedness of it. And then really the last thing with that particular color is to get in stems. I'm going to lift and see if I can lighten and create a sense of a stem or leaf by lifting color out rather than darkening it. All right, and there it is. Work with the medium and the color and be expressive and frankly explore what this medium can do, what kind of painting you can get out of it, what sort of expressive composition, expressive painting that you can really get with this medium.